Alabama could lose 2 of their top running backs, not to the NFL, but to the transfer portal. All of a sudden, there's vultures sweeping into Tuscaloosa, trying to find guys that can run the ball. Does Alabama care if they lose those guys? We're going to talk about that. Is Nick Saban ready to retire? He was asked on the Pat McAfee Show, and his comments were really interesting. And a former Alabama quarterback who transferred once to Maryland says he's on the move again, but he has no eligibility. How interesting. We're going to talk about that and the NFL. Welcome to Bama Tailgate Daily on the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Make sure that you guys like and subscribe, and let's get this party started. Roll Tide. What do you say, everybody? Welcome to the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. I'm Mick Gillispie. That's Brett Elmore. We call him Big Elmo, and he's hanging out with us here today. Make sure you follow us both. He's at Brett Elmore Show. I'm at Broadcaster Mick on the socials. And a happy Saturday to you as we expect things to happen today, but we felt like we'd get this thing started with a show and talk about everything going on in the world of Alabama. We're going to do this every day until we have football again. We're going to be like those early birds that get the worm. Good to see you, Brett.
Good to see you, Mick. Happy Saturday to you. How was the plunge you took yesterday at the Bass Pro Shops in Leeds?
You know, that guy it really made Alabama proud. Not only did he wreck his car into a telephone pole, he ran into Bass Pro Shops, stripped down naked, jumped into the Leeds Bass Pro Shop bass pool, swam around in there, and then which was really amazing is he came over the glass straight down, like I want to say at least 9 or 10 feet on his head.
Yeah, and he was out like a light too. What I like most about it is, have you ever seen a slug or maybe even a snail, the little trail when they're moving and
yeah,
but water. So the cops are trying to just drag him through the store and get him out of there, and it's just a trail of water. But yeah, making us proud, man. Making us proud there in Leeds, Alabama. But yeah, happy Saturday to you, Mick.
Hey, I want to remind you guys that the show's brought to you by Pearl River Resort over in Choctaw, Mississippi. It's an hour and a half or less from Tuscaloosa. It's 2 hours from Birmingham, not far from where Brett is, and that is Jasper, Alabama. It's not really far from anywhere in the state. You got the sports book at the Timeout Sports Lounge in the Golden Moon Casino. It's Vegas style in there. You got all the big screen TVs. They've covered everything, college basketball, obviously the national championship game, which is coming up, the NFL playoffs. I love gambling on NASCAR. They have that. They've got soccer. They got it all. You can sit back, relax, watch the games, and put some money down. They also have the casino with table games and the slots and all of that stuff. So find out for yourself, Pearl River Resort. And don't forget, some big acts are going to be there as well, including Ron White, the comedian, and the Wallflowers, Pearl River Resort. All right, let me throw him up on the screen, Brett. There he is. He's the greatest football coach of all time. You know him. His name is Nick Saban, Nicholas Lou Saban. He was asked on the Pat McAfee Show if he was going to retire. Brett, what did he say?
Well, he says, McAfee asked, well, why do you get asked this every single season? He says, well, maybe because I'm getting old. And Saban, he played it off really well. And he said, even when a recruit asks, are you going to be around, are you retiring or what? And Saban says, I ask them, if they're going to be around for 4 years at the university. And they're like, oh, can you tell me that? And they're like, well, hell no, So, you never know. I mean, but he's going to be back for another year. And, of course, McAfee can ask him anything in the world because he's making 7 figures doing his show every Thursday. And which is a great segment, by the way. I really like the McAfee Show. But But Saban, he'll be back, and even his daughter went on Instagram and kind of responded to the next round, and Lance saying that he's still leaning towards Saban retiring, and she said, that was kind of ridiculous or funny talk or whatever. I forgot what she said, but he'll be back.
Well, setting LT straight, and of course I love LT, my buddy. But you know what? I mean, he says that he really thought that Saban was gonna retire, and it's worth bringing up. And the reason why, and I know you guys get on to me in the comments section about that. Whether it's Nick Saban or Eli Gold, who we did a story about earlier this week. You get to 70 years old, and you're not the same as you were when you were 50. Not to say that my grandmother lived until she was 95, so everyone's different. The thing about Nick Saban is that he's very healthy and he seems to be having a good time. He's still having success. It doesn't feel like this is the end of the road yet. And I'm glad, because I'd love to see some more with him. It's been just an incredible ride. And so that's good news. I think that if Alabama would have won the national championship, it would have been easier to say, hey, you know what, maybe it's time to walk away or ride off into the sunset with that success. But I don't even know. I don't even think so, knowing him, that he would even care about that. I think he's going to do it as long as he can do it. We had Mike Johnson on the channel who played for him, and he said, I just can't imagine what Saban's going to do without football. I remember him driving me around on his boat in a tube with slacks on. And that made me laugh, but it also kind of shows you this is a big part of who he is. And if he can still keep doing it, once you quit, that's it. So I just don't think that he wants to go there yet, because he still has something to play for. And that's and something to offer.
Yeah, he's still relevant. He's still good at what he does. Obviously, he's coming off a Final Four appearance and a chance to win the national, championship. The guy's still relevant. He still has, the mojo, and it's not like he's had 3 losing seasons in a row and went to the Music City Bowl. I mean, he's still really good at his craft.
Is that a shot at Auburn?
Did you catch that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did. Okay.
But I mean, the guy's still really good at what he does, and fans that want to complain about a 2-loss season, hey, you need to remember back to the dark ages of Bama football, and then, and take a reality check.
Yep.
We're going to be just fine. We've had a great season, SEC champions, and I'm looking forward to next year.
Roydell Williams announced that he was going to hit the transfer portal yesterday. That was a surprise to me. I thought that Roydell Williams and Jace McClellan would end up in the NFL. We're going to talk about McClellan here coming up. But Roydell Williams, second on the team in rushing, technically a very good running back, did an excellent job of being the lead guy in the win over Georgia, was injured against Michigan, and it really hurt Alabama, not just in the run game, but in the pass block game, because he is an important part of that. He only ended up with 1 carry, and Nick Saban said that it was an ankle injury that he was dealing with. This one, I guess it surprised me a little bit, but Alabama has a lot of running back depth, including Justice Haynes and Jam Miller, who you figure are going to step into some pretty prominent roles next year. So Roydell Williams transfers, but this was the one that really surprised me. Now, as of when we're talking, he has not put his name into the transfer portal yet, but people out of Ole Miss are saying that Jace McClellan could be the replacement to Judkins, who transferred this week out of Ole Miss, their star running back. This was Alabama's top running back this year, led the team in carries, yards, and touchdowns. Were you surprised at this, and do you think that this could happen?
Could happen, yeah. Do you think we may make a trade? I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. Uh, to go to Ole Miss for the final season, um, that would kind of hurt a little bit. But um, I, yeah, it surprises me a little bit. And of course, you were talking just a few minutes ago about Roydell Williams. I mean, he had a change of heart. I mean, we were talking earlier off the air, I think earlier or yesterday, and it was like, no, we thought he was coming back, and then all of a sudden he says, "Nah, I guess I'm out of here." So that was sort of a surprise to me too. But you mentioned Jam Miller and Justice Haynes. I like both of them. I think Haynes is very promising. He's a freshman, and he'll be a rising sophomore. I like him a lot. And you're right. We're with recruiting and everything going on. I think we'll be fine, but hate to lose Jace McClellan.
Yeah, and you wonder who's going to end up with Quinshon Judkins, who was a star player for Ole Miss, surprising transfer. But the guy had over 1,500 yards and 16 touchdowns in 2022 and was an all-SEC performer. And then 2023 had some injuries, but still played in 13 of Ole Miss's games and had 1,158 yards and 15 more touchdowns. So he's the first running back in the SEC with 15 touchdowns or more in back-to-back seasons, his first 2 seasons at that in a row. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you say, hey, maybe Judkins, who's from Montgomery, is coming to Alabama. I haven't heard that, but nothing surprises me. But to think that McClellan would go to Ole Miss, now that would surprise me. But if I was the Rebels, I would love to have him. So
Sure.
He's got to put his name in that transfer portal to get there. And that's something to look at today and see what happens.
Yeah, the portal closes today, and like you mentioned, he's not even in the portal as we are having this discussion. So who knows what's going to happen? May make for a very interesting day today, but I don't know. It was a mutual decision on Judkins leaving Ole Miss and entering the portal. And, you'd heard, there were several issues with him, yelling at offensive linemen and disruptive at times, and going into Kiffin's office during the season and tell him, kind of what he wanted to see in the offense. And I don't know if that would fly too well in Tuscaloosa, but who knows?
Yeah, right. So it's an interesting group, and you expect this when it comes to guys transferring and teams transferring, that you're going to lose a bunch of players in the transfer portal. I mean, everybody does this day and age, but Seth McLaughlin, the center, transferring, I don't think anyone was really heartbroken to see him go. You got all those guys like Ja'Cory Brooks, who transferred early. Earl Little Jr. Earl Little Jr.'s in there. Malik Benson, who was supposed to be coming to Alabama and was going to make a big impact from the wide receiver spot. Never really did make much of an impact, but he's transferring again. Christian Story. Eli Holstein, who we're going to talk about in a second, he's a freshman quarterback. Miles Kitzelman, I don't remember even seeing him. Terrence Ferguson, an offensive lineman, is going to Florida State. So, you're talking about some players that could help your team. But at the same time, when Alabama went and signed all of those guys in early signing day, and then they've brought in 3 transfers already. There you have to move guys out, so it doesn't surprise me that we're losing guys to the transfer portal. And the running back room is definitely one of the most solid areas on this Alabama roster. All right, let's talk about guys going to the NFL from Alabama. First off, Dallas Turner. Immediately, hey, I'm going to the NFL. No one's arguing. We knew you were. Kool-Aid McKinstry, NFL. Not surprised. Terrion Arnold, going to miss him. Funny dude, great talker, got a bright career, a guy who was targeted a lot because he was on the other side of the field from Kool-Aid and turned into one of the best corners in college football. So congratulations to those three guys. Will Reichert, who came back, the kicker, he's going to the NFL. J.C. Latham, the offensive lineman, he'll be a high draft pick as well. But it isn't going to be the same as last year where you lose Bryce Young, your best ever player, in my mind, at quarterback, and then you lose Will Anderson Jr., who some say may be the best defensive player you ever had, first and third pick in the draft. You're losing some guys, but it just doesn't feel like you're losing the heart and soul of this team.
No, it doesn't. I don't know if you mentioned Mbakwe, he's going, and Tresman Marshall is declared for the NFL draft. He spent 1 year with us there at the inside linebacker position, coming from Georgia. No, I mean, and you expected most of these guys, but yeah, I guess, yeah, you don't have what we had last year. I guess Dallas Turner would kind of be the main guy going to the draft this year.
Yeah,
name.
Yeah, but it's not like it's not the list that we've had in the past. No, but we wish those guys all well. And as Nick Saban's met with these players, it's, hey, here's where you'll be in the draft if you go there. Chris Braswell, another guy who's going to the NFL. And then you got guys who he'll say, hey, you know what, might be a good idea if you stick around and put another season in. Deontay Lawson, hey, maybe Malachi Moore, it's better for you to stay and build some more value for yourself. And we talked about those guys as well. A couple of quarterbacks mentioned. Eli Holstein, who was a backup freshman, never really saw the field for Alabama. Honestly, with Julian Sain coming in and Dylan Laudergan blowing the doors off of Holstein in practice, and then you got Ty Simpson staying. There just wasn't a spot. Probably smart for him to find another place. He's going to Pitt this weekend on a recruiting visit. And then this one was the one that really blew me away. Talia Tungavailoa, the brother of Tua, who started at Alabama, and had he stuck out, would have ended up being the starter over Jalen Milroe. It just would have been probably this year, right? Would have been his year. He goes to Maryland. He played 5 games his freshman year at Alabama, right? So that eliminates a year of eligibility. Somehow, he sat out of the bowl game, opted out, and now he says he's going to transfer. And he's got to get a waiver to be able to play. I just can't believe it. First off, that he opted out of the bowl game, which they beat Auburn without him anyway. But to transfer when you don't even have eligibility, it just seems pretty ridiculous to me.
It does. Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah, like you mentioned, he's got to get a waiver from the NCAA, and whether he gets it or not, it's a different story. But yeah, that was kind of an odd story that came out, when you're talking about the portal and everything. I can't believe this guy's going again to try to find another team.
Really interesting. So that's what we have right now. As things happen, if any news drops, I'm going to pop back on here and I'll tell you guys all about it. And maybe McClellan decides to transfer to Ole Miss. That obviously would be a story.
That's right. Hey, before we go, I want to congratulate Minkah Fitzpatrick playing for the Steelers. He's become the first Alabama alumnus to win an award named for former Crimson Tide quarterback Bart Starr.
Wow.
He's won the Bart Starr Award yesterday. It's presented annually since 1989 to the NFL player who best exemplifies outstanding character and leadership in the home, on the field, and in the community. And that's definitely Minkah Fitzpatrick. So congratulations to him.
Yeah, I got to tell you, man, the ESPN story, the 30 for 30 about Bart Starr was awesome. And
phenomenal.
I met Bart because he was the first major athlete to do my college radio show at Alabama.
Oh, that's
the very
cool.
first. And he was great. He was fantastic. He took the time to do it, which was just amazing at that point in my life. And then ironically, he was the first person I ever saw write my son's name, because when my son wasn't born, I ran into Bart and he signed a football to my son. So I'm going to show you. Want to see it? It's in here.
Yeah.
Let me grab it. Yeah.
Grab that because that's really cool.
Tell everybody why you like Bart Starr while I'm grabbing it.
Well, Bart Starr's one of those that, I mean, just a legend of Alabama football and the pros too. I mean, one of many Alabama legends, but such a great guy. And to sign that football though is so cool. And Mick is going to show that to us. Yeah, you have it in the case too, which is smart. Oh yeah.
Well, I put it behind.
Yeah.
I put it behind Jake Coker.
Yeah, that's cool.
He probably thinks it's him.
Yeah, for him. Yeah. No, man, that is really cool. Yeah.
First time I ever saw him. What a great autograph too.
Oh yeah. What a
Bart
great
Starr.
and a legend, Bart Starr.
No doubt. All right, brother. Great show. Guys, thanks for hanging out. Let me remind you about our friend Chad Anderson at Modern Lending. He helped me get into this house. He's going to help Brett get into his next house. Modern Lending. Chad Anderson, a graduate of the University of Alabama, a guy you know from the shows. He was actually in broadcasting and then swings over and helps us out as well. 10,000 families Chad has helped get into homes and businesses, and he's also an investment consultant and an Airbnb expert. Find out for yourself at This Chad Is Real. That's Modern Lending. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. I'm sure that we will be popping back on later today with updates. Alabama transfer portal. Today's the final day, and hopefully there's nothing major that happens, but there's always something going on. Make sure you like and subscribe, though, and hang out with us all the time here at the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Here's your invitation. You're always welcome on this site. Roll Tide.